Good evening and welcome to the call. This is Ernest ODell, your host, on Saturday evening, the 26th of October. Our next meeting will be on the 29th, Wednesday. Next Wednesday on the 29th, I'm sure everybody's probably going to be getting geared up for Halloween. I don't know if they're going to be doing Halloween on the 29th, 30th, 31st on a Thursday, or it's going to wait for the weekend. But next Wednesday, we are going to be starting at 8 o'clock sharp. We usually try to crank this thing up early and let everybody come in and get a seat. So we are going to be starting on time. We're not going to wait around 15 minutes or a half an hour. We'll start without you, and you can watch the replay. We always record these and put them up on YouTube. Tonight I have a special presentation for you. This is something that I normally do for my clients at DMS Group Media Communications. I've been doing this presentation for several years now, showing people how to dominate your marketplace, not just compete, not just run with the pack, but to make your business stand out from the competition, head and shoulders above everybody else. There's a good audio program put out by Grant Cardone over at Amazon. It's Dominate Your Market. He's pretty much on the same thing here, but there's a few basics that people need to learn before they take Grant's course, and I think it's about $395 or $499 over at Amazon. It's not cheap, but it's well worth it. It's a box of CDs, and he's got a special that he's running now on all of his books. So if you can go to Grant Cardone, C-A-R-D-O-N-E, on the web, grantcardone.com, and the cardonezone.com. You can get a good education there, and we're going to show you the basics of dominating your marketplace and the marketing equation. The earnings disclaimer, I have to read this, okay? Every effort has been made to accurately represent this product and service and their potential. There is no guarantee that you will earn any money using the techniques and ideas provided in this presentation. Examples in this presentation are not to be interpreted as a promise or a guarantee of earnings. Earning potential is entirely dependent on the persons using the information included in this presentation. Your level of success in attaining the results claimed in this presentation depends on the time you devote to the ideas and techniques mentioned, your finances, knowledge, and various skills. Since these factors differ according to individuals, we cannot guarantee your success or income level, nor are we responsible for any of your actions. Materials in this presentation may contain information that includes forward-looking statements that give our expectations or forecast of future events. You can identify these statements by the fact that they do not relate strictly to historical or current facts. They use words such as anticipate, estimate, expect, project, intend, plan, believe, and other words in terms of similar meaning in connection with a description of potential earnings or financial performance. Any and all forward-looking statements here or on any of our sales material are intended to express our opinion of earnings potential. Many factors will be important in determining your actual results, and no guarantees are made that you will achieve results similar to ours or anybody else's. In fact, no guarantees are made that you will achieve any results from our ideas and techniques in our material. And a lot of that, ladies and gentlemen, is based on your efforts and your actions. Pull the trigger, produce energy. Here's a tip. The most expensive piece of real estate is the space between your ears. It's what you create in that area that determines your wealth, and you're only limited by your imagination. Everything that you've learned about marketing, advertising, and sales is wrong, period. Okay, I don't care what you've learned up to this point. Whatever you've been taught in the Facebook groups over at Instant Rewards, ZNZ, DMT, wherever you've been, Empower Network, Monavi, everything you've ever learned, just put it on the side and listen, because marketing has changed over the past 100 years, and since the inception of the Internet, it's evolved into a wild, wild west monster. When I ask you something as you look at this, which results would you prefer if you are in a business spending money on an ad? Let's say you spend $5, $50, $500, or $5,000. Ad number one, we're going to spend the same amount of money for each ad, okay? And you receive on ad one 70 calls with a conversion ratio of 10 to 12%, and let's say sales of $31,000, $32,000. Ad two, if you're running a split test, okay, same amount of money. Your calls are 955 with an 86 to 87% return ratio, and your sales are 1.5 million plus. Is that doable? Yes, it is. Now, which ad do you think would cause readers to say, I would have to be an absolute fool to do business with anyone else but you, regardless of price? It would be ad number two. The difference between strategic marketing and tactical marketing is, in strategic marketing, it's what you say, how you say it, and who you say it to. It's what you say to a particular audience, let's say on a classified ad channel. Let's take Craigslist, okay? It's the content of your message and your target audience. You're targeting, let's say, for instance, on Craigslist and backlink. This can be applicable to any business. It can be applicable to real estate. It could be applicable to the insurance industry, the restaurant industry, the gaming industry, the meetings and convention industry, convention centers, you name it, okay? What you say and how you say it and who you say it to. It's the content. The tactical marketing is the execution. It's a strategic marketing plan as far as generating leads, where you place those ads, placing media, creating marketing tools like brochures, business cards, online videos at YouTube, and then implementing a follow-up system like in a lead acquisition system. In other words, it's the medium in which your message is delivered. 20, 30, 40 years ago, the medium was delivered with telephones, pagers, fax machines. Remember the old days when you used to get spam faxes? They came out with legislation against that. Then they had robo-dialers. They still do. Especially during the election season, you have these robo-dialers calling your cell phones. Even cell phones are not safe anymore. Landlines are especially plagued with it. The National Registry of Do Not Call seems like it's like a paper tiger with no teeth. It just doesn't have any teeth. Okay? These people are using these mediums to get their message delivered. That's tactical marketing, tactics, or methods. The distinction between strategic marketing and tactical marketing is just as different as night and day. Many people mistakenly assume that when you talk about marketing that you're automatically talking about tactical marketing, the placing of ads, generating leads, getting traffic to your website, sending out mailers, autoresponder messages, attending trade shows, job fairs, creating brochures and business cards and printed material, implementing a follow-up system, and so forth. What they fail to realize is that the strategic side of the coin of what you say, how you say it, and who you say it to is always more important than the marketing medium where you say it. Okay, let me go back over that again. People fail to realize that the strategic side of the coin is always more important than the marketing medium where you say it. The marketing medium can be the internet, the fax machine, as I mentioned before, the telephone, television, radio, even printed media such as newspapers and magazines. Learning and implementing these two concepts can help you turn your marketing campaigns into a cash machine. The unique selling proposition, your unique selling proposition is something that only you can say. None of your competitors can say the same thing. If your competitors are saying the same thing that you can say, then you're just using platitudes and cliches. To create a unique selling proposition, you have to reduce your presentation to 30 seconds or less. And think of it as an elevator pitch. The USP is also known as the enhanced value proposition or the intrinsic value proposition or the intrinsic value position. To enhance your value, you have to heighten, increase, to improve the value in your reader's mind. You have to show them where you're head and shoulders above everybody else. You have to project quality and desirability or attractiveness. The intrinsic value is belonging to the essential nature or constitution of a thing, as in the worth of a gem or the intrinsic brightness of a star. Okay? Think of a house that you're putting up for sale and you want to sell it. You go in and you have the carpenter put in some crown molding. You've enhanced the value of the house. Let's say you redo the kitchen and you put new granite marble tops and new sink stainless steel, because things like this in the bathrooms, that's what sells the house inside. And of course, curb appeal. Okay, that would be the enhanced value. And then the intrinsic value is the perceived value, okay? So your USP, your EVP, and your IVP will help you set yourself head and shoulders above your competitors so that you don't just compete, but you run out in front of your competitor. You dominate the market. The inside reality and outside perception of your company is determined by what you bring to the marketplace and how people perceive you. One of the reasons that a lot of people in the CPA industry have this hurdle to overcome is because the outside market, they perceive you as a bit of a scam or a pyramid scheme or less than legitimate. Okay? Now, you know your inside reality is quite the opposite because we get paid. We also have to pay taxes. If the government thinks that instant rewards is legitimate enough to pay taxes, then, I've said this over and over, where do people get the idea that we're not legitimate? Well, they get it from the media and from people that don't know what they're talking about, okay? Your inside reality is the actual value that you bring to the marketplace, and this is based on your products and services, your quality, your people, perhaps your ability to follow up with leads and train them and help them each one teach one, okay? Your service. It's how you perceive yourself in your company. How do you perceive yourself? If you don't believe in yourself, you're not committed to this, then you have a low perception. You've got to raise your own perception of yourself. Now, granted, we're not selling anything in instant rewards, but we still have to know what our prospects want. You can call them a customer if you want to, but what are their wants and needs? Knowing what your prospects want and need is going to help you help them. They're wanting more money. They're wanting security. They need to know that they're not going to get scammed and burned, okay? At the same time, your USP can't be claimed by anyone else. Now, they may be claimed in other CPA companies claiming the same thing. Oh, we all do the same thing. But you individually as a team member or as a marketer have to set yourself uniquely different than everybody else. If your competitors can say the same things that you're claiming in the marketplace, you don't have a USP. You just don't have anything more than a platitude or cliche. So, to create an outstanding inside reality, you must know why John Smith buys what John Smith buys. You've got to know why your prospect is looking to you and why they even came to you in the first place. And you've got to get on their level when you talk to them. Follow up, the importance of follow up, calling them up, and developing a relationship with them. Have some similar experiences with them. Share with them, okay? Because to be successful in your marketing campaigns, you've got to captivate your prospect's attention and interest, not just make yourself different or your ad. You've got to see through his or hers eye. Let's call her Jane. You've got to see through their eyes and understand what they're up against. The outside perception is the way your customers and your prospects view you and your company. This is based on any communication you might have with them. Advertising, marketing, and sales efforts form your outside perception. The first perception that is formed about you and instant rewards is at the ad. If your ad reads like a scammy piece of marketing material, they're going to blow you off, okay? Now, you can take some of the ad templates from the websites over at the IMN Marketer and the Classified Ad Directory. You can use that to develop an idea or a unique ad that is totally different than anybody else's. Make it look like a job ad, okay? They're templates. They're not necessarily to be used word for word. It's not considered plagiarism if you do, but they're ideas, okay, for you to bounce off of and to create something unique. This is where the USP comes in. Your unique selling proposition, okay? Your unique ad, it's got to be you. It's got to be based on your experience. It's got to be based in your voice, okay? That's where the outside perception of instant rewards starts. And this is the outside perception of you, the individual, the representative, or the referral agent. When you get them on the phone, how you talk to them and how you respond to their questions, they form their perception of you and the company before you even get to them on the phone. It starts at the ad level. So you've got to work on your ad. We're gonna show you how to do that. The problem is that most companies' inside reality and outside perception don't match up, and we know that. We know that the outside perception doesn't see us as we see ourselves, that we are legitimate. There's an old ancient Chinese proverb. I don't know if it was Sun Tzu that said this or what, but victory goes to the ones with superior forces at the point of contact. When you make contact with your prospects, when they answer your ad, okay, this is where you start the relationship. Here's one of the biggest reasons why the inside reality and the outside perception don't match up. Because in the early days of advertising, long before I was born, and long before many of you were born, back in the late 1800s to 1950s, advertisements were thought of as an army of tiny salesmen, all armed with a perfect presentation, and they weren't afraid of the word no. Headlines identified problems, ad copy educated the buyer and built a case, offers gave prospects a low-risk way to learn more. It gave them information to make an informed decision. P.T. Barnum, one of the greatest showmen in the world, had big banners posted all over town when his circus came to town. The headlines identified something exciting, and sometimes it posed a question which caused the mind to think, to break out of the alpha mode. Questions cause the brain to engage. Oh, no, you're going to make me think. You know, this society hasn't taught me how to think because now I've got to think and my head hurts. Wah. Starting in 1948, most of your ads were being run on radio because we didn't have television until just shortly after. I think it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's administration. The era of the brand builders changed marketing and advertising forever. Ads shrank from 1 to 2 minutes down to 30 seconds. Ad prices went up dramatically, and only the largest companies could afford to compete. Slogans became the most cost-effective way to communicate. Creativity and repetition became the de facto advertising standard. You know, say it often enough, and, you know, people would remember it. Does anybody remember plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is? Alka-Seltzer, okay. What was the other one? Is great. You know, Tony the Tiger and Kellogg's Corn Flakes. They're great. These were CNR. They were creativity and repetition. They just kept throwing rocks at it. You know, they found something that worked, and they just kept throwing rocks at it, okay? That's what slogans became. They were just, you know, de facto. In the era of the brand builders, the inside reality and the outside perception really didn't have to match up because relatively few companies could afford to play the game. They couldn't compete against the big dollars. So the big companies, they won by forfeiture of the smaller companies who couldn't compete with the dollars. Nowadays, with the internet, your ads have to catch your target market's attention in under 7 seconds, folks. The headline is the only thing that they might see in your email autoresponder or on your ad when they're surfing, whether it's Backpage, Craigslist, or if you're into a high-traffic network using interstitial ads. You've got less than 7 seconds to catch their attention and have them take action, click through. Answer your call to action, your CTA. That's how much it has changed in 60 years. Most advertisements that you see today fit into these two categories. They're either institutional or they're menu board style. The institutional ads is like, okay, here's our best attempt at being creative, and here's the biggest budget we could muster to support this crap. You know, throw enough spaghetti up against the wall and some of it just might stick. It's still utilized by big companies and some small ones. General Motors, Toyota, think of any big automobile manufacturer. Ford Motor Company, we own work. And we don't just work, you know, there's, you know, play. Dodge Ram. Think of Disney. These people spend huge budgets, and this is just in 2002. We're talking 11 years ago. They spend even more now, okay? I haven't gotten the recent figures, but back 11 years ago, Pepsi was spending $1.1 billion in their advertising. Coca-Cola was spending, back in 1998, they were spending $1.6 billion. Coca-Cola is still the largest soft drink known around the world. It's a major brand. So, you know, think of McDonald's. Everybody knows what a Big Mac is. They spend $1.3 billion, you know, for their franchisees. Okay. They probably spend more than that now. All the companies that have ever disappeared during economic hardship have been those who quit advertising. All the companies that have survived economic hardship, such as the Great Depression and the recessions that we've had, have always been those that continued to advertise during those times. So, how big is your budget? Most of us don't have a budget. We have to start from scratch. We have to start from zero, and we have to save our money and you know, start with free advertising. Platitudes now rule the roost. Platitudes are words and phrases that are drearily trotted out for the consumer's consumption. Don't use platitudes. You see it all the time on Facebook and Facebook groups. You know, I'll show you how to make $1 gazillion in 24 hours. Click 3 buttons and Miss Click Boobs will jump out of the cake and turn you into a billionaire overnight. It doesn't work that way, Freckles. Okay? Platitudes are commonplace and they're predictable. Most people just turn them off. They ignore them. As a group administrator, I might even delete some of them. They lack power to evoke interest because they're overused and they're repetitive. People have seen them before. And you see the same people using the same strategy over and over, but yet they change their ads and they change their companies faster than I change my socks. And I change them at least once a day. Nevertheless, these people state these platitudes like they were something new and original. This is why you've got to get away from using templates, you know, word for word. Use them to create ideas, okay? Read some of those. Write them down. Copy them down by hand. And then think, maybe go to sleep. Carry a notebook with you. Set that notebook, you know, next to your bed on the nightstand. You wake up in the middle of the night, you know, with a bright idea for an ad or something. Get up. Write it down before you forget it. Because if you go back to sleep, you're going to forget it, okay? What are some of these platitudes? lowest prices, best service, highest quality, most professional, largest selection, largest in the country, family owned and operated, most reliable. We've been in business since 4409 BC. Yes, indeed. And the same thing with menu board style ads. They look like a restaurant menu, okay? Here's the name of our business, and here's a list of stuff we have. There you go. That's it, okay? It's utilized by a lot of businesses. You commonly find ads like this in the yellow pages. They have the name of the business at the top of the ad. They have absolutely no engagement. Open up your yellow pages. Very few people even use yellow pages anymore, but they still print them and they still deliver them. So some people may find them justifiable to still use these, but the ads in them are lame. L-A-M-E, lame, okay? Because their basic offer is, come buy from us for no justifiable rational reason other than the fact that we have it and you don't. You know, that's no reason to do business with these people. Don't do your ads the same way. You know, they say that a broken clock is right 2 times a day, at least twice a day. Well, even dead fish can float downstream, but it can't swim upstream. Just because your ads are done wrong and they violate all the rules in the marketing equation doesn't mean that they absolutely won't work. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you'll get, you know, some crappy ads on Craigslist, and occasionally you'll get a few bites. But you'll get a lot of bottom feeders out of that, okay? You won't get, you know, good selective prospects because even a crappy ad will work occasionally. None of your competitors are really doing any better at marketing than you are. And this is why you and they will, you know, you'll get a few bites and a few nibbles. After all, people need to theoretically buy what you're selling. You're not selling instant rewards. They're not buying anything from you, but they're buying your sizzle. If you don't have any sizzle, they just, you know, they might answer your ad anyway. Because they're going to go to somebody. They're going to answer somebody's ad, all right? If you have any ad, you're going to get some business. This is called situational results, and this is what is frustrating everybody. You've got to learn how to get out of the situational results advertising, okay, and become a power advertiser. Here's a better idea. Implement the marketing equation into your business and dominate your marketplace. Don't just, you know, leave your competitors behind you, because you don't want competitors. You want to dominate. You're not a competitor. You're a dominator. Think of Terminator. I'll be back. Arnie, where are you when I need you? Platitude evaluation. Evaluate and see for yourself. Grab an advertisement. Go to Craigslist, okay? Look at the advertisements. Go on Facebook in the Facebook groups. Look at these advertisements, okay, from your company and other people, the way they're advertising. Run it through these platitude evaluators. You would think, well, I would hope so. Does your prospect expect you to say what you just said? If so, it's a platitude, okay? Who else can say that? Who else can say what you're saying? Can your competitors say the same things that you've been saying? Not do what you do, but say what you say? If they can, then it's a platitude. Now, cross out your name off of the ad and write in the name of your competitor. Another business, even if it's not a CPA business, even if it's not a freebie, put their name in your ad, and if the ad is still valid, your ad just failed the test. It failed the platitude evaluation test. It failed the USP test. Why a lot of people's marketing isn't working across a broad spectrum of industries is because up until the 1980s, it was fairly easy for companies and salespeople to get in the door and make a presentation, use some traditional closes, and walk out with a check. You had fewer competitors, fewer choices, low technology, low education, low information, low resistance. It was easier to make a buying decision, and the economy back in the 80s was different. Now, you've got the internet. People are more informed. They can make better decisions, okay? You can't go in just with some of the traditional closes and walk out with a check. You can't just sign somebody up because there's too much noise out there. You've got to stand out there like you're in the big middle of Walmart and saying, hey, I need your attention, okay? You've got to get people's attention. You've got to stand above the noise and break through that buzz, that humdrum that's going through their head, okay? The seller back then, they had the power. They really did. The buyer, it wasn't a buyer's market. It was a seller's market. The confidence gap, okay, from the 1990s on has widened since the advent of the internet and the information age. As I said, buyers they're better educated, they're better informed, they have more choices, they have more information at their hands, they can make better decisions. They have faster technology. God, back in, what was it, in 98, when the internet was still in its nascent form, if you had a 128,000 baud rate dial-up, you were doing good. If you could afford T1 or a DSL, you had to have some bucks, and it didn't cost $30 a month. It was more like $100 or $200 a month. I know because I've been selling telecommunications for 38 years. It was expensive to get DSL, and DSL was such a crappy technology and a topology as far as infrastructure, I wouldn't even sell it. If they couldn't afford T1, I'd tell them, I said, you're not going to be happy with DSL, okay? The speed of the internet has even, it has sped up since the 1990s. Now we're at 2013. It's nothing uncommon to see somebody with 2 megabits on a fiber optics connection. Wireless connection, you can go anywhere you want. Go to Starbucks, log on and do a presentation, record it, and talk to people. Why has the confidence gap widened? Okay, because of increased technology. It led to increased resistance. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. We've got increased competition. We have more choices, increased information, and the entrepreneurial boom. Everybody and their cousin is going out buying a computer and getting an ISP account and thinking they're going to become a multimillionaire overnight. It doesn't work that way. It has led to increased resistance, longer buying cycles, and if you have a higher price ticket item, of course, that's going to be even longer then. People are reduced to price competition. Products and services are just mere commodities, and the market is hearing identical marketing messages. All right? And this is the problem. The buyer today has the power. The sellers don't have the power. It's not a seller's market anymore. Back in the old days, if you were out looking for a job, they had more jobs available than they had employees. it was an employee's market. Now, jobs are not so plentiful. But if you're good at marketing and selling and advertising, you can do well. You'll never be out of a job if you're good at sales. You got to be great. You can't be average and you can't be normal. But now, okay, it's like the job market has flipped. Now you've got people that are looking to solve problems. If you can come up with a solution, you can get a job, even if they're not hiring. All you have to do is get to the decision maker. The seller is at the mercy of the buyer, okay? Because there's so much noise and so many selections out there. They're competing for this prospect's attention. Instant Rewards is competing against Empower Network. They're competing against MCF Paradise, Freeview, ZNZ. Write down some of these names that you've seen floating around on Facebook and on the Internet. You've got all this noise and chatter out there that you've got to rise up above and stand above it, okay? The confidence gap represents the buyer's inability to distinguish whether any of the businesses out there, any of the products, or any of the other services are any better, any different, or any worse than any of the others. They stall, and then they shop price, or they just stall and they don't complete because they see you all as the same. Now, we're going to get into the marketing equation. Here's a real quick recap of why everything you know about marketing and sales is wrong. The problem for the history of advertising in the era of the brand builders and the platitudes and days of simple selling and confidence. It resulted in most companies' inside reality and outside perception don't match. Human nature demands that buyers always want to make the best decision possible. If I'm a buyer in a company, I make the wrong decision, I could lose my job. Okay. Not so if you work for the government. I mean, you can pay $638 for a crappy program that doesn't work on a national scale and still have your job. But if you were doing that, working for me, and you wrote a piece of crappy software and I had paid you, I would not only fire you, but I would want my money back and I would sue you, okay? Marketing and advertising should get the attention of your target market, facilitate their decision-making process, and lower the risk of taking the next step in the selling process. We don't have anything to sell at Instant Rewards, so we still have to use this equation to get them psychologically over the hurdle. The process for accomplishing this is exactly the same every single time for every kind of business. It doesn't matter. Just like 2 + 2 always equals 4, the marketing equation always produces the right answer. And here it is, down at the bottom. Interrupt, engage, educate, give them an offer, results. You interrupt them at the ad level. You engage them in the body copy of the ad, and you educate them, and then you give them a call to action in your offer. Call me or click here to apply. This leads to results. And this is why you still want to follow up with them and use the same equation. Interrupt them, get them to thinking, ask them questions. How much money would you like to make on a daily or a weekly basis? $450 a day or $900 a day? Or would you rather make $450 a week or $900 a week? Or $500 a week versus $1,000 a week extra money? they will usually give you the higher value, okay, because you've interrupted them, you've caused them to think, you've engaged them, you've gotten them out of alpha mode. Then you ask them, would you like to start today or tomorrow? Well, most people would tell you, well, I want to start right now, okay? So you educate them, you give them the offer, take them to the offer site, and they produce results. When they get qualified, now they can go out there and do the same thing you're doing and teach them the right way. You get qualified prospects to pay attention to your marketing when you interrupt them. This is accomplished by identifying and hitting your prospects' hot buttons. What are the hot buttons of our prospects? They need more money, okay? They need a job. Or they hate their job and they want to find a way out, or they just want to make some extra money, okay? Finding your prospect or your customer's hot buttons comes through dialogue and relationship building. This is why you need to get them on the phone. Spend 3 to 5 minutes with them on the phone, determine what their hot buttons are, build a relationship with them, get them started. You might be on the phone with them 5, 10, 15 minutes in the starting process. The rest of it is pretty much the same. You engage them. You give the prospects the promise that information is forthcoming in the ad that will facilitate their decision-making process. When you answer them by manual email or in the ad, if they click through, tell them, you're going to learn everything that is needed about this company in our orientation video. Watch it. Learn how to write hypnotic copy. If you don't know how to write hypnotic copy, then go out and get Joe Vitale's book on Amazon. The title of the book is Hypnotic Writing. If you don't know how to do this, get his book or hire somebody who does know how to do it. I don't know if you can find anybody on Fiverr that can do it, or ODell, because, most of these guys are schlepping along for $5 and $50 a pop, but they're not copywriters. If they were good copywriters, they wouldn't be on Fiverr and ODell. Think about that, okay? Next step, you have to educate your prospect or your customer. Identify the important and relevant issues that your prospects need to be aware of, then demonstrate how you stack up against those issues. One of the issues that, prospects are always asking is, are we a pyramid, or are we a Ponzi, are we a scam? No. Are we oversaturated? No. Because, you might have 17,000 members in the back of the Instant Rewards Facebook group, but they're not all out there working the business. Another well-known name, they had over 10,000 people, but probably fewer than 100 people were actually working the business. If you look in the Facebook groups over on Instant Rewards, you'll see big names like Trace Burrally and Rangeline Presley, Anthony Wright, ODell, several other people. You go in there, you see them on a regular basis. They're heavy hitters, okay? They know how to educate their people. They know how to work with people, and you see that they're making money. So you know we're legitimate because we keep getting paid. They can show you how to stack up. Learn. Go to the IMN Marketer. Yes, read as much as you can. Watch these videos on this channel. But learn to build a case for your business like a lawyer would present a case in court. Okay? Give prospects a low-risk way to take the next step in the buying process. Like I said, we're not selling anything. They're not buying anything. But you want to give them a low-risk way to take the next step in this business. So what do? You start them out with something like the starter, which pays out $20 to you. They can do 1, maybe 2 offers on the starter. They can do the creditreport.com, for a full credit. And they're qualified for life. They don't have to do it over and over. They don't have to stack up a bunch of stuff in the garage. Okay? They don't have to go on auto ship for anything. They can try it. If they like it, if they like the service, they can keep it. They can go on auto pay. If they don't want to keep it, then cancel out after about 25 days. You got to try it out for about 75 to 80% of the trial period. The trial period is 30 days. Okay? Give them a low-risk way to try it out. Just tell them to try it out. That's why we call them free trials or low-cost trials. Some of them cost $1. Some of these trials, North American Marketing Group, with the cooking pleasures, they might run anywhere from like $3 for the Santugo knife to $4.95 for something else. Okay? Put more information in their hands and allow them to feel in total control of the decision. Many of them will pull the trigger on it. Get them signed up. Make sure they get in your autoresponder, because the autoresponder is going to be doing a lot of the heavy work for you. If they don't pull the trigger today, I've seen a lot of them come back 12 days later and pull the trigger. And if you have even more autoresponder messages in your system, maybe 6 weeks. I've seen them come back 6 weeks, 6 months, a year later. I've seen them come back 6 days and 12 days later and pull the trigger and say, you know what? I've seen this work for others. I know I can make this work. When you interrupt, engage, and educate and get your call to action on the offer, the result is the right answer every single time. You'll see people coming in and doing the marketing equation, working with you. The alpha mode is like when you drive to work. You don't have to put any conscious effort. The marketing equation has 2 components, the interrupt and engage. You have to interrupt people out of the alpha mode. When people are calling you up on the phone, they're talking to you, said, tell me all about it. Don't get started by telling them all about it. Tell them, I'm going to send you a link to an orientation that is going to give you all the information you need to make an informed decision. You're spending too much time trying to sell when this thing will sell itself. Alpha mode is when you automatically run patterns that allow your brain to habitually perform tasks without any conscious effort. This is the alpha mode that the caller is in. Have you ever driven to work and realized that you got there, you hadn't even consciously seen a thing along the way? You don't remember seeing the hitchhiker on the side of the road. You didn't see the billboard out there announcing, the Amber Alert. You can be talking on the cell phone. You can be texting, not supposed to while you're driving. That's kind of unsafe. Even talking on the cell phone can be unsafe. But you're listening to the radio. You might be putting on makeup or shaving. Guys, or whatever. Women, you're putting on makeup. You just don't pay attention to what's going on because you've done this so many times. Your brain can drive you to work without any conscious thought. That's the alpha mode. Think of it as sleep mode. It's like, man, you can drive to work asleep. The beta mode is when your brain's state is changed to active engagement. It's like when you drive to work in a heavy thunderstorm and your hands are firmly gripped at 10 and 2 o'clock on the steering wheel. You're really concentrating because you can't hardly see because of the rain hitting your windshield. You're in beta mode. You're fully engaged in the process of driving to work. This is how your marketing equation has got to be. You've got to get your callers out of alpha mode and into beta mode. You've got to engage them, okay? You've got to get them excited. You've got to get them thinking. You've got to ask them questions. And you have to ask them questions and make them give you answers because you're the interviewer. They're the ones looking for a job, not you. You're in beta mode when you're watching a movie and the music is building to a crescendo. Think Jaws, okay? Da, 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 da. You know, here comes the shark. I'm going to chew off the end of my boat. You're anticipating something happening. The music builds and it puts you on the edge of your seat. A well-written book does the same thing. Think of the beta mode as the alert mode. Dee, 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 like a smoke alarm going off in your kitchen. The reticular activator is like, you know, we want to call it the limbic or or the lizard brain. It's not. It's the part of the brain that's always on the lookout 24 hours a day. It can be conscious or unconscious, okay? 7 days a week, even when you're asleep. It's that part of the brain that's always on the lookout, looking for things that are familiar, unusual, or problematic. When your brain detects any of these things on a subconscious level, it sends a message to the conscious side of the brain that says, hey, 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 wake up. You need to pay attention to what's going on around you, cupcake. This is what the reticular activator does to you. This is what you've got to get with your callers, okay? Have you ever bought a new car only to realize that afterwards everybody else in town seems to have one like yours? I haven't seen any Bentleys around town here lately. Not too many of them in Lubbock. Definitely not any out here in the boonies. But this is where the reticular activator comes into play, and you know, you look over and say, oh, cool, that guy's got good taste because he's driving a car just like mine. Okay. This happens. You see it. You know, you might be driving a brand new Honda Accord or something, or a new Ford pickup, you know, and pull up next to you, and it's red, and his is red, same package, the King Ranch package. And you guys look at each other, you know, like most rednecks down here in Texas, give each other the thumbs up, you know, like, yeah, we know what's good. We know what's cool. Okay. We got it going on. Activators and hot buttons. An activator is anything that snaps a person out of alpha mode and into beta mode. Any time something familiar, unusual, or problematic enters the reticular activator of the brain becomes activated, hence the name. Traditional CNR advertising uses unusual and familiar activators to interrupt people. The creative and repetitive advertising. Okay. Just because an activator has interrupt value doesn't mean that it's valid. Okay. If you see an ad for long distance services and, you know, the dog, you know, that's on the ad, well, it's kind of a false beta, you know, so the mind goes back to the alpha mode, goes back to sleep. You ignore it. You see this all the time. You see beer commercials, you know, with scantily clad girls running around in thongs drinking beer, when, you know, that's not real, okay, because if there was truth in advertising, she probably wouldn't be scantily clad running around in a thong. She'd probably be a little bit heavier, look like a beached whale, okay. And, you know, anybody drinks as much beer as, you know, I do. You know, if I drank like that, if I drank like a whale, I'd probably look like a whale. So, you know, they say, man, this can't be real. You know, I'm not that lucky, especially you guys. Just because you see this, it doesn't mean it's always valid. And activators that are not relevant or important to people must be constantly changed to keep people stimulated. So don't use these false betas and activators. How do you find out what the hot buttons and the activators are when you're talking to your prospect? Is you ask them, what are you doing for work? What kind of work do you like to do? You like to work outside. You like to work with people. You like to talk on the phone. Do you like to write? Do you like to, work inside? Do you like to work with people? You like to work in sales? What, get a feel for them. Talk to them. Then you can find out and make notes. Have a tablet there on your desk when you talk to them. Make notes of what their activators and their hot buttons are. This is one of the things that big companies with big advertising budgets run into when they use the wrong activators and hot buttons in the sales process. They have these bloated budgets, for advertising, marketing, and sales, and they produce minimal results. You've heard me hammer it over and over, cold calling sucks. And I've seen people, I've seen both sides of, the argument that if you do cold calls right, you can make money. But I don't suggest it in this business because you don't have to make cold calls. But I've seen sales departments and sales managers tell everybody, you got to make 100 calls a day. You'll get a few leads that way. If you're not into rejection, if you don't have a masochistic personality, I don't suggest cold calling. Okay. For some people, it just doesn't work because it just doesn't produce the results that you need. What your brain does when it finds an activator, it immediately goes and subconsciously searches for additional clarifying information. It gauges that information and gauges it, to how important or relevant it is. If it's important or relevant, then it'll be allocated more brain waves and thought. Okay, conscious bandwidth will be allocated to it, and it'll become engaged. That means that the activator is a true hot button. If it's not, the brain, the conscious goes back to the unconscious and goes back to what it was doing. As my dad used to say, okay, you can go back to your rat killing. So, the brain's just going to go back to what you were doing before it got engaged. It's not going to get engaged with a false beta. Okay? If it's not important, that means the activator is not a hot button. If your prospect is interrupted but not engaged, that's a false beta. Let's say, for example, you're in a crowded airport and you hear your name called. You turn around and realize that the person calling your name was actually calling someone else who apparently has your same name. What do? You walk over there and engage that person in conversation, or do you ask them what they want? Of course not. You just, once you realize that it was a false beta, you just, turn around, wait for your baggage, or wait for your flight and go back to doing what you were doing, thinking about making your flight and your connection and meeting your loved ones on the other end of the flight. Unless you're just an extrovert, like some people, you might go over there and engage that person and say, I know you're looking for somebody else by the name of Ernest, but my name is Ernest too, and here's my card. They might look at you funny like, well, you're not the Ernest I was looking for. Who the hell are you? False betas. They're used by celebrities in advertising. Celebrities are used in a lot of these advertising campaigns you see on TV, and they become familiar, and they register in many people's reticular activators. But because the celebrity often does not connect with the actual product or service, it results in a false beta. Think of Kim Kardashian, okay? What does she have to market? It's like she's beautiful, she's got a beautiful personality, but, what else? She's got some mighty big assets. That's Subtle. Activators that are strange and shocking to the visual and auditory senses, they're creative or unusual, they'll interrupt the prospect. But when the brain can't find any additional clarifying information, it reverts back to the alpha mode. The result is a false beta. Okay? Think of Kim Kardashian in, let's say, a Ford pickup commercial. Well, you know good and well she doesn't drive a Ford pickup. She probably has chauffeurs. Once you realize that, you're going to say, this girl doesn't connect, you know. But if she's promoting a commercial of beautiful jewelry and perfume, you know, then the ladies say, oh, wow, yeah, I can see that, you know, because she connects. That would be a real, you know, activator. Another false beta is your menu board style advertisement. You see these all the time. The menu board style ad, it'll interrupt people who are thinking about buying a camera, for instance, in this ad here, because the pictures of cameras will register in their reticular activator as something familiar. It'll switch them out of alpha mode temporarily into beta mode, but when the brain tries to find additional information, nothing's found, and it goes back to alpha mode because they're looking for something in particular. Here, okay, you see an ad that would actually work. You've got interrupt up at the top, thinking about buying a digital camera, but don't have the foggiest clue what you need or even what's available. Call for our free guide, or in our case, we would say, click here to watch this video. You see it all the time on the internet. This is based on a hot button. Let's say somebody's looking for a good digital camera. You interrupt them out of the alpha mode with the top, right here. This is where you interrupt them. Then you engage them. 5 things you need to know. Promise to educate the reader, right here. It's hard to see this. 5 things you need to know before buying a digital camera. Then below that, you're going to educate the reader to control the information. This is where you set up your ad the same way, no different, in Instant Rewards or any other freebie or MonaV or Empower Network, whatever you're doing. I see these guys over at Empower Network doing the same thing, and the ones that are successful are the ones who are using the interrupt and engage. The ones who are using the template ads, they're the bottom feeders who usually shake out after about 6 or 8 months because they haven't been making any money at it. The same thing with Motor Club of America. You see people making money in MCA over at Motor Club of America because they're using the marketing equation. They're interrupting, they're engaging the prospect, they're educating the prospect, and then they have a call to action. They have the offer. Free digital camera buyer's guide. It allows the reader a low-risk way to make the next step, making a buying decision. When they click through to your landing page and they have the promise of seeing, you know, another orientation after they've watched the initial orientation, they're going to get more information. They can make an informed decision as to whether they want to do this or not. Are you going to sign everybody up? No. You might do 1 to 3%. You might get 10%. But 1 to 3% of 10, okay, is less than one person. But if you've got 100 people you're talking to, 1 to 3% is 1 to 3 people, okay? If you're reaching 1,000 people, 1 to 3% is 10 to 30 people signing up. Okay, I've signed up as many as 20 and 22 people in one day. but I was talking to a lot of people, and I was reaching a lot of people, and I was reaching out, exponentially, okay? But they all followed the same pattern. They all followed the marketing equation: interrupt, engage, educate, and offer, or call to action. Headlines must be full of hot buttons that will interrupt the prospect. You use hot buttons based on problems, annoyances, or fears that your prospects have. Are you unemployed? Are you looking to make more money part-time? Ask them questions. Find out what people's hot buttons are, okay? This triggers an emotional response, okay? You can even get controversial and political with people. You think this economy sucks? Can't find a job? You've got 19 or 90 million people out of work. Who are you going to blame? You're going to blame the Republicans or the Democrats or the Independents, or, it's not going to fix the problem. So what are you going to do? You've got to go out and create your own economy. If you sit around blaming, you're going to be in the same rut you're always in. So this is how you get these emotional responses and these hot buttons with people. Don't look to do like the politicians do, and get into the blame game. Do something. Get off your ass and go pull the trigger and try it. If it doesn't work for you, fine. Get out. Go find another shiny object and go do something else, cupcake. Let's say you're looking at a brochure for a mutual funds management company or a fixed indexed annuity. You see the name of the company on the front of the brochure. Is that a hot button? No. It's the first thing I told some of my clients over here in the financial consulting industry. Don't put your name and don't put the name of the company up there on the front of your brochure. Put the reticular activator, put the hot button up there. Interrupt them on the very front cover. So when they open it up and they read inside that brochure, you engage them. It can be a bifold or a trifold. It doesn't matter. So you open up the brochure, and it shows a typical 3.5-person family with smiles on their faces. And at the bottom of the brochure, it says, building your future on solid ground. Whoop-dee-doo. Is that a hot button? You know the answer to that. Now, here is one that engages. It interrupts properly, and it engages. You could change this title up here, Mutual Fund Investment Strategies. You could say Fixed Indexed Annuities. Okay? Build your wealth for the rest of your life. Will people actually read all of those words? Yes. If you have the right hot buttons. This particular ad, okay, works, all right? Which one actually works? And which ones are guaranteed to drain your savings, jeopardize your retirement, and squash your quest for financial independence? Down here at the bottom, called Landmark Mutual Funds. All right? This is a hot button. This is a hot button. This is a hot button. Put your name and the name of the company down here at the bottom. Why? Because nobody gives a dipshit about your name, the name of your company. They just want to know what you can do for them, okay? Now that the prospect has been successfully interrupted and engaged, your job as a marketer is to become the facilitator of information, the fountain from which all knowledge flows when it comes to figuring out how to buy what you sell. This is my accent impersonation of Dracula from Transylvania. You've got to give them enough information, quantified, specific, and delineated, so that they feel like they understand the important and relevant issues. In our business, the important and relevant issues is financial independence. You can create it on any scale you want. You can do 1 conversion a day. You can do 5 conversions a day. You can do 10 conversions a day. It's up to you. You can do them on the starter, or you can do them on the starter and the 60, or you can do them on the 80, or you can do them on the starter and the 80. You can run any combo you want, okay? You give them enough information to show them how to do this, and they will feel like they're in control of the decision. And then if they don't, they go off, fine. Don't lose any sleep over it. Go to the next call. You've got to give your people enough information to make them unshakable in their confidence that they're making the right decision. And you've got to work with them. I still have people I talk to every day, every night, during the day, in the afternoon, and even after these webinars. I mastermind with people. This is because these are the people I want to work with, all right? You've got to do the same thing with your people. Now, if they're working, taking a call, you know, go ahead and let them take a call. I was talking to Rangeline one day, and she says, oh, got to go. I got a call. Bye. There, you know, I was history. And that's the way you got to do. This business, you know, you can mastermind for a little while, but, man, when you get a call, go to work, okay? You got a lead, you got a prospect. It's time to educate them. You got to educate your prospect, and the more you educate your prospect on what he needs to know and what he needs to look for and what he needs to look out for, the more you're going to convert. In some areas you're going to sell, but in this we're not going to sell anything. We're just going to help them get started. Now, the information has to be delivered in a way that's easy to understand. It's easy to scan and easy to digest. We have that with these orientations and in the back office and the autoresponders. We simply call this component of the marketing equation educate. We're in the education business. Somebody will ask me sometimes when I go to Lions Club, what do? I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. I'm a master guru. I'm a mentor. The information that is given to people to educate them is called control information, because it puts them in control of the decision. It doesn't control them. You give them as much information as they can get, as that you can give them, so that they make an informed decision. If you give them just enough information to bait and switch them, you're not going to make any money in this industry, okay? You got to give them control information, and that control is theirs, not yours. You have to build a case for your product or service, or in this case, your business, like a courtroom lawyer. Your product or service is on trial. Instant rewards, I don't care what you're doing, ZNZ, MCA, Empower Network, you're talking to a prospect, SOC, send out cards, whatever. Your product, your service, your company, if you're in an MLM, whatever, it's on trial, dude. Okay? The customer is the jury. The prospect is the jury. You're the attorney. You have to educate your prospect as to all the relevant and important issues and prove that your offer is superior based on evidence. You got to present that evidence like you were doing an expert testimony to support a case. Remember, it's a life or death sentence for your business and for your company, your service, whatever you're promoting. The 10-point educational spectrum. Now, most marketing pieces only appeal to now buyers. Problem is, those who are ready to buy now only account for about 1 to 3% of all prospects. By putting a low-risk offer in your ad that allows a prospect to get more information, become more educated, you can capture a much larger portion of prospective buyers. This is why we have autoresponders, because it follows up on them, it cultivates them, it drips on them like drip irrigation in a garden. Okay, the prospect first gets the idea to buy into your idea, to buy what you sell, or to join you. People don't join businesses, they join people. They join people with names and voices. I have a particular style of my own. I use a lot of 4-letter words when I drop stuff, in my webinars that I probably, should put an age restriction on some of these replays. Everybody has their own style, okay? You start gathering information on an informal basis about your prospect, what they need, and how you can help them. You ask friends and associates for recommendations, okay? You might have some friends, some family, and associates that are looking for an extra job. You can talk to them. You don't have to hard press them. We're not in the buttonholing business. Do some heavy-duty fact-finding. I've presented these webinars before. I've showed people how you can go out and find heavy-duty facts, employment and unemployment figures by city, state, county, and national figures, and where to target, and how to make yourself stand out from that employment, that figure. One of the highest unemployment places in the country is Yuma, Arizona. It used to be El Central, California. But do you know that somebody living in El Centro or Yuma, California, or Yuma, Arizona, can actually get back to work and not have to commute much more than 30 paces in their pajamas? Teach them how to narrow down choices by a process of elimination. Center in on their favorites, center in on their favorite things, okay? What do you like to do? You like to go to your kids' soccer games? If you had enough money, you could probably do that. Do you like to go out once a week and maybe take the family out for pizza? With this business, you can do that. You can afford to take off, okay? If your boss, you get your business built up and your boss says, no, I got to have you work late. So, no, I got things to do. He don't like it. I've been fired off for more than one job. Center in on their favorites. Decision is coming soon. The prospect makes a decision to buy, but not necessarily who to buy from, okay? They're going to sign up with you. Again, it's relationship building. You wait for the timing to be just right. You get them on the phone. They call you or you call them. And in a sales position, in a sales transaction, of course, money changes hands, but here we're not making any sales. So what do you do to get people to ink the deal with you in this equation, whether it's instant rewards, Z&Z, MCA, My Cash Freebies, MonaV, Empower Network? You get them to ink the deal. That's when the actual transaction takes place, when they do their offers, okay? That's when they deal with the company, and you explain to them that they've got to have a credit card because they're going to make sure that they're dealing with a real person, that they're not defrauded, that there's no fraud taking place. That's when money changes hands. That's when everybody makes money. Prospects from all points of the educational spectrum will respond to your offer, instantly increasing your ad's pull by 2 to 100 times. I had a 970% increase for 2 moving companies in Houston, Texas, using this equation. The best part is that you can now control those prospects by proactively nurturing them along via a follow-up system and capture more long-term conversions. In our case, like I said, we're not making sales, but we're making conversions, and that autoresponder system is the follow-up system. Back in the old days, we used to just follow them up with direct mail, snail mail. A good ad will interrupt, engage, educate, and make an offer or a call to action. Offering something free like a video or a report will most assuredly make your ad a winner. Capturing your prospects into a lead acquisition system will increase your conversion ratios on a sequential and exponential basis. When all four components of the marketing equation come together in your ad, not only is it a thing of beauty, but you also have an ad that's turning your business into a cash machine. Remember, human nature demands that people always want to make the best decision possible. It's a matter of survival. People are afraid of making bad decisions with their money, okay? That's a complaint. It's not an objection. Get over the complaint. Tell them that, are they going to go bankrupt for $1? Are they going to go bankrupt for $3? Are they going to go bankrupt for $4.95 or $8.95 or $19.95? If they don't have it, then, graciously exit the interview and say, call me if you're interested when you do have it. Okay. Sometimes you got to put a little skin in the game, but I don't know where you can go out and find a job for less than $100 or start a business for less than $100. Okay. When you get all four components of this equation in place, your ads will work every time. Starts at the ad level. Interrupt, engage, educate, and a call to action. The results is you make more money. The 8 pillars of a successful marketing campaign is the unique selling proposition or the enhanced value proposition, okay? Then exponential marketing. You don't market on just one source or two sources. You don't market just on Craigslist, and if you do, you don't market like everybody else. Don't write these turkey ads, okay? Write super great ads. Then you get into relationship marketing. Relationship marketing, you can do that through Twitter, Facebook, and other social networks. Engage people. Get into a conversation with them. Don't just try to spam them and market them, okay? You have to optimize your prospect and customer base. You can create strategic alliances with other people. Perhaps you're on a list of a major guru who has a big mailing list of opportunity seekers. You might see if he'll do a solo ad with you. You might look around and see who does good solo ad advertising. You might see if you can do some trade-off work for him or her. Okay? Custom advertising, web, optimize the media. Use these high-traffic networks. They're a little expensive to get into. You'll have an ad manager work with you. If you get into any of them, they'll probably require you to have about $100 to $300 deposit before they start something like this, but they can help you set up a targeted keyword campaign. That's custom advertising because you're using laser targeted. And the key component there, as I always hammer it home, make sure you send them to a landing page where you capture their name and email address. And with, instant rewards, it's already built in. You got the landing page, you capture their name and email address. And tell them in the ad, at the ad level, you want to work with me, it's got to be a real name and a real email address and a real phone number, okay? If you don't put those 3 components into that lead capture page, I'm not going to waste my time calling you. I'm not going to email you. I might email you, but I can't call you if I don't have a phone number, okay? I can send you my information as far as calling me, but if you don't give me your phone number, then we don't have a working relationship. If you don't trust me enough to call me, then I'm going to wish you well in your job search, and I'm going to go on. I'm not going to lose any sleep over you. Okay? Community relations marketing. Do you ever go to your Chamber of Commerce and get involved in the mixers? Do you go to Toastmasters and meet with people? Join your local Lions Club? Get involved in your community. Get out of that desk in the evenings and join some community-based clubs. Go one-on-one, direct marketing with people. You ever stop by the water hole, and have a cup of coffee or something with a friend? Use some word-of-mouth referrals, okay? Get to know people. Get out of your comfort zone. Success is your duty, obligation, and responsibility. Now, you hear a lot of New Age preachers over the years telling you that success is your destiny. Well, yes and no, but it depends on your action, okay? Success is not going to come up and kick you in the crack of your ass, all right, if you don't get out there and do something and take action. I'm here to tell you that it's your duty. It's your duty and your obligation and your responsibility. Nobody else's. Not the Republicans, not the Democrats, not the government, okay? It's your duty, obligation, and responsibility to become successful and to take care of you and yours and your own. Most people don't know that success is their destiny or duty because they're not taught that in the schools and the universities. I quote Grant Cardone a lot because, I listen to him. And I've got his books like Joe Vitale and, and all these other New York Times bestsellers. If you're poor, it's not your fault. Some of those people in the law of attraction industry would say it is your fault, okay? I don't believe that. I believe that if you stay poor, that is your fault. Shame on you. But if you're poor, it's not your fault. You can get out of it. We still live in the greatest country in the world where we can get out there. I don't care who's running the government down there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't care if it's Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, or whoever. It doesn't matter. Okay? You can go out there and create success for yourself. If you don't, shame on you. Shame on you. And I'm going to recommend Grant Cardone, New York Times bestselling author. Grant is an international business and sales expert. He started back when he was about 25 years old selling cars. He hated it, but he learned how to make money because he knew he had to make more than enough money just to be comfortable, because you have to plan ahead for those catastrophic events. He's authored 4 business books and customized sales training programs for Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, success-minded individuals, and entrepreneurs. I've done the same thing over the past 38 years. Grant, he's dynamic, a highly sought-after international speaker, captivates audiences with his down-to-earth, entertaining speaking style as he tackles timely topics. You can find him on YouTube. Watch him. He's a New York Times best-selling author, regularly appearing on Fox News with Neil Cavuto, Fox Business, NBC, MSNBC, offering commentary and insights on a variety of topics affecting the economy, business, leadership, and matters affecting the middle class. Okay, if you want to move into the middle class or move to the upper middle class or move to the upper class, okay, it's up to you on how much action you take. I listen to Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Frank Kern, Gary Vaynerchuk. I listen to a lot of them. Grant also has his own radio show, the Cardone Zone on News Talk 96.5 out of Orlando, Florida, where he provides listeners with tips and strategies for finance, business, and careers. The show is streamed live every Friday. He offers viewers the opportunity to see himself in action and engage with him via Twitter at ampersand, not ampersand, but the @ sign, at Grant Cardone on Twitter. I'll make this PDF available later. When I upload it, I'll make this whole presentation available if you want it. You can download it, you can print it off, you can go through it, you can make notes on it, okay? Get a chance, go over to the Grant Cardone Amazon book reviews that I've done over there. The final solution to a successful business. The ultimate goal of any business, whether it's internet business or brick and mortar, instant rewards or whatever, is that you have to become profitable and remain profitable for the long term. To do that, you must unequivocally learn and implement this equation, the marketing equation. And then you need to pull the trigger on your sales and marketing campaigns. If you don't pull the trigger, you're not going to eat. Only the hunters eat. If you don't pull the bow back on that bow, the arrow is not going to be sent flying to its target. If you want to learn more how to dominate your industry, get on these webinars, stay on these webinars, watch the replays, send your team members over to these replays on that YouTube channel. Get them on these webinars, okay? This is the only time you're going to see this presentation unless you watch the replay. I will not do this replay again, or this presentation. This presentation goes out to my customers who pay a 5-figure monthly retainer with a 2-year contract. If you want to discover how to dominate your industry, you can call me. You got my numbers here. I build lead acquisition systems and media productions. I also teach and I train salespeople. I've been doing the same thing. I've just been flying under the radar. I don't fly as big. I have some books out and I'm working on some more. No, I'm not a New York Times bestseller. I've been flying under the radar. But you'll definitely see me in the news pretty soon. I hope you've enjoyed this. And I'm going to say we've been doing this now for about 2 hours. This usually takes me about an hour and a half. I'm going to stop the recording and open it up for question and answer.